What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Pauline Theology's Daily Devo, and we are in the book of Judges, and we're on part 2 of the Samson saga. Maybe it's part 2. I think I labeled it part 2, but it might be considered part 1 because the other one's a prequel. It kind of like talked about how Samson came to be about. Either way I labeled it, we're on the second part of Samson. Ooh, man, I'm tripping. Anyway, we're on the second part of Samson, man. And Samson's probably the most well-known Bible figure in the book of Judges. A lot of people know this brother, man. So let's dive deep and see what it says. And again, I hope you read before, but if you haven't, we're in Judges 14, chapter 1 through 4. Check it out, stop here, read it, and come back, and we'll discuss our 4 things we always discuss about. So what does the scripture actually say? What happened? We're only going through 4 verses, so it's not a whole lot going on. But in those 4 verses, there's a lot to unpack. So it's pretty awesome. Sometimes we read maybe 2 days ago a section that was, I think, 8 verses, something around there. And there wasn't a lot that we can learn unless you just like scrutinize every little single word. And I tried to do a little bit of that. But with this one, there's not much going on. Well, there's a lot going on, but not much reading to find a whole lot. So it's awesome, man. Anyway, what's it say? It says that Samson, man, he saw a woman. He said he went down to Timnah and he saw a woman, a Philistine woman, man. And when he saw her, obviously something happened because he told his mama and his daddy, he said, take her for a wife. He's like, I want her as my wife. I want this woman to marry me. She is amazing. His mom and his dad was like, what? Can you not find a person from your own people, from your own kindred, your own family to marry? And instead of this uncircumcised Philistine, like, can you find one of us instead of one of them? And Samson was like, bro, I looked at her and she was right in my eyes, is what it literally says in the Hebrew. She was right in my eyes. I think some versions may say something like, because she was beautiful, or she had a wonderful appearance. She was lovely. Man, he saw her and he just fell. Boom. You know, what do you call that? He just fell in love instantly. Boom. Ooh. Well, more like fell in lust. But he was like, I want her. So go get her for me, man. And then this is what is so powerful, though, because his father and mother, they were saddened by this thing, but it says they did not know that God was seeking an occasion so that he may find a way to take down them Philistines, man. See, the Lord has plans, man. The Lord has plans. It says because at the time the Philistines were ruling over the Israelites. So what do we find out about God in this? What do we know about God? What character of God is being displayed through these 4 verses? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's God's sovereignty. You might have said grace. Yeah, I know. And I think that's true. Grace is there. Because again, we read, and I didn't mention last episode, I'm sorry, but at the very beginning it says that the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord again. And that they were oppressed by the Philistines for 40 years. So they have been oppressed for 40 years by these Philistines, okay, because of their sin, and they're turning away from God. But God, in his sovereignty, is making a way for them to end that oppression through his servant Samuel. I keep saying Samuel, I'm sorry. Through his servant Samson. Even though Samson is trying to explicitly go against the things that God has called him to do. We talked about that a little bit in the last episode. Actually, not in the last episode. I'm sorry. A couple episodes ago, when we talked about that judge giving his daughters to marry foreigners, and then also that his sons were marrying foreigners' daughters. It's like this was not what the plan was. This was not what was supposed to happen, because what happens is when they mix like that, they begin to serve their gods rather than the God of Israel. They serve their wives or their husbands, their spouses' gods. That's just what happens, man, and that's what is being displayed here in the text. And so, despite Samson doing this thing that's evil, God is going to use it to do good. That's because he's sovereign, man. God is sovereign. That's so amazing, man. I mean, to me, that's just incredible. What do we see about man? Well, I think we see that man wants to do whatever he wants to do. Yes, man wants to do what he wants to do. Samson said it, and it's a little precursor to what we're going to see once we head out of the Samson saga and we go into the last book of Judges, the last storyline of Judges, which is the Civil War, which is a horrible thing. So be ready when we get to that, people. Be ready. But a theme that carries on throughout that time is the people did what was right in their own eyes. The people did what was right in their own eyes. And Samson starts it off right here. It says that Samson wanted this woman because she was right in his eyes. We do what we want, man, because that's what we want. It's pleasing to us. That's the status of man, regardless of you're Christian or non-Christian. Now, as Christians, we hope that we follow God, but man, it ain't always that way, is it? And so what's the application we can take here? Well, first off, the big takeaway is that God is sovereign over everything. Now, we don't want to do what we want to do in our own eyes, of course. We don't want to do whatever we want and just say, well, God will work it out. That ain't what I mean. But what I do mean is that when things happen to us, when we are partakers in things that we have no way of being able to control, that seem to be detrimental and harmful and hurtful to us, God is making a way through that. God is moving in that for his glory, but for our good. It's always for his glory and our good. And those things that happen are developing us and turning us into a picture of who Jesus is, so that the world can see and glorify his name. And in that we can rejoice. So take hope, my friends, in the sovereignty of God in every situation. Take hope in the sovereignty of God in every situation. And then finally, trust in the sovereignty of God, but trust in his purposes and his plans. For he's the all-wise God, perfect in wisdom, having all knowledge, and then knowing what to do perfectly with all that knowledge. Trust in that and just bow to his will, because things will be far better if we do that. Thank you guys for paying attention and listening, and I will see you in the next episode, guys.